Hey, what's up y'all? This is William, the Permaculture Consultant, and today we're going to be cleaning the air conditioning condenser unit today. Now, I've never done this before, but since buying this house, the air conditioning is constantly running. Like, it's constantly trying to keep up, and by the end of the day, it's usually hotter inside the house than it is on the outside. Well, maybe not that bad, but it feels pretty doggone hot inside the house. So what we're going to be doing is cleaning this. Now, one of the future projects is going to be getting rid of the grass around this air conditioning unit, because that's part of the problem. Especially if this is running, whenever you weed eat or mow, it's just going to collect a lot of the grass clippings and get caught up in these fins around the side, which, as I'm looking at it, that's definitely the problem. So let's go ahead and take this apart and get it cleaned. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that the power is off on the inside. Make sure that it's not like trying to click on the air conditioning unit to air condition the house. Make sure that's off. Next thing you want to do is go to your AC disconnect, take this black tab right here, pull it out, flip it upside down, and then put it back in. You'll notice that on this one it says off on one side. You guys might not be able to read that. And then it says on the other side. So whatever side is exposed is going to let you know if it's on or off. Sometimes whenever you pull these out, also, if you're uncomfortable with this, don't do it. Do not touch the copper on the inside of this. That's what will kill you. That's what's carrying a charge. So make sure it's off, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, so now that that is off, the next step is that I'm gonna take basically this housing off, and that way I have better access to the fins. I've watched a few videos and apparently that's not absolutely necessary, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it's not like it's difficult, for one, and also I know this thing has never been cleaned. It's only about 4 years old and it has never been cleaned before, ever. So I'm gonna take the housing on just to do a better job. Also, if you guys didn't know about this tool already, it's this little magnet that clips onto your belt. This thing is freaking awesome. It has a pretty good holding capacity, but you no longer lose your screws, and you can keep it on your belt if you want to. Now I'm just gonna lift this top off, and be careful that you don't just, manhandle it and just lift it right off. You wanna make sure that you're careful of these wires that are gonna connect on one of these corners. Just make sure you're not putting too much tension on those wires. Make sure you can find a good resting spot for this lid. And also make sure that this lid isn't resting on the coils that you're trying to clean. Yeah, now you can see all the junk on the inside. Now I don't have a shop vac on me, or else I would vacuum all this stuff out of here. So what I'm gonna do is try to scrape it up all by hand, get it on the outside, and that'll be the first step. Also, while you're doing this, make sure you're not leaning up or damaging any of these fins. It's important that they're kept as intact and as straight as possible. Now the buildup is so bad around the outside with this grass that I'm actually going to take this outer cage off. Now remember, do it carefully because you don't want to damage these thin little fins on the outside. You want to keep them as intact as possible. So same screws, I'm just going to take them off here at the bottom and get this grate off. And all I'm trying to do is get as much debris out of here as possible before I start spraying it down with the coil cleaner. Now what I'm going to do is use this coil cleaner. It's air conditioning fin and coil cleaner. Just got it over at Ace Hardware. And now I'm just going to spray down all of the fins. Following the directions on this, I'm going to spray down all the fins and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. You probably want to make sure you're not breathing this stuff in. In fact, this thing is so dirty, I'm actually going to spray the outside and the inside of this thing. All right, so I sprayed this thing. It says let sit for 5 to 10 minutes. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna let it sit here, let it soak in, and then I'm gonna redo this process as many times as I need to until all of the debris is away from this. Now, one thing that'll help mitigate this in the future, there's just gonna be natural dust collection on this thing because of the nature of what it is. Sorry for the cars driving by. But one thing that'll help mitigate this in the future is if I get rid of the grass around this air conditioning unit, which is definitely gonna be one of the projects that I do over here on this permaculture demonstration site. the urban one, I should say. So let this sit and then we'll come back to it and then we'll follow the next step. 5 to 10 minutes later, what I'm gonna do is go on the inside of this, make sure it's on shower, and spray these fins out, starting at the top and working my way down. I'm also making sure that this hose isn't coming in contact with the top of these fins. You might be able to see some junk coming out. Also want to make sure your pressure isn't too high, so that way you're not damaging the fins anymore. Make sure it's not on jet, basically. All right, so since this unit is so dirty, I'm actually gonna hit it with this stuff one more time. I'm gonna hit this, do the whole process again one more time. So now that everything is cleaned out, I'm gonna reapply this wire rack to the outside. Now if you need to, go ahead and spray off your wire rack. Make sure you're not putting the dirt that you just took off back on your AC unit. There we go. Now I'm gonna carefully wrap this back around without damaging any of the fins. If you haven't noticed, there's an important concept here, and that's keep the fins clean and undamaged. Now this whole process is kind of just tedious. Just putting all these little screws back in the brackets and everything. Just making sure everything's nice and snug. All right, now that the bottom is screwed in, I can go ahead and put this top back on. And make sure you put it on without damaging the fins. There we go. Largely, make sure everything is in place before you start screwing them back in also, or otherwise it's gonna be a little bit of a nightmare to do it on the back end after you've already started some screws. So, go ahead and screw this back in now. Another cool handy thing about this magnet is if you drop a screw, you can just use it to find that screw. So, bam. There we go. That is back on. And now that that's back on, I'm gonna give everything, oh, I just sprayed the camera a little bit. I'm gonna give everything a nice little spray down one more time before I turn the power back on and turn the AC back on. Don't forget the AC disconnect. Flip it from the on position or the off position to the on position. And now I'm gonna go turn the AC on in the inside and give it some time, and then we're gonna see if that actually fixes the issue. What was going on was that the inside of the house, it was just, the AC was running constantly, like nonstop, and it still wasn't keeping up with the temperatures on the outside. So, came out here, cleaned the coils. Now we're gonna run the AC and we're gonna see if it's able to keep up with the temperatures on the outside and see if it's gonna give itself a break as well. So hopefully that fixes the problem. If it doesn't, then there's more solutions in the future, but hopefully this video helps. Let's stick around and see if it actually did help. Seems to be working. This house has been maintaining temperature basically all day, so awesome, it works.